Joining me right now is XFC Bantamweight prospect Austin Bashi. Austin, thank you so much for the time today. How are you feeling?
Good. Feeling good. Thank you.
All right, let's jump into it. 2020, you had 3 fights, 2 amateur. I wanted to get into your first professional fight at XFC in your debut. Entering that fight, what were the nerves like?
That was to start off. That was an amazing opportunity. First pro fight, and not a lot of people have their first pro fight on NBC Sports. So that was a really good experience. The nerves are high, but that's when I feel like I compete best, when those bright lights are on you and there's a lot of pressure on you.
What is the pressure like for you? You know what I mean? Like, it seems like they're putting a lot of stock into you, and do you accept that the limelight? Do you like it?
Yeah, that's what I live for. I like the pressure, but as soon as I get locked inside that cage, all that kind of empties out the mind into just the fight right there. Then I don't try to think about all that other stuff.
Now, with the fight against Enzo Perez, what did you think about the performance you had? Because your amateur fights, you just went out there and basically completely annihilated both guys, and you went to the decision with Perez.
Yeah, he was definitely tough. He made me work, but I feel like I could do way better, especially on the stand-up, because striking, I feel like, is my biggest game I have, the best thing I'm at. So I think I could have finished him if I made a few adjustments.
What do you think? Did you have any moments in the fight where you thought, if you would have, I guess, approached it a little bit differently at some positions, that you would have got the finish?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Instead of just wrestling kind of the whole time, if I kept it up on our feet, I feel like I could have caught him. He was a little open.
So coming out of it, what was your situation like with training and everything?
We just made that adjustment, watched the film, learned from it, and just every day growing from that fight, because that was a big, it was a good test. It was a very good test, but we learned a lot from it and just growing from it every day.
I know you've been training for many years now, and when you go into a new year, do you have, like any extra goals or anything that you add to your regimen that you feel like you needed?
Everything's kind of just the same. It just I kind of make a goal for myself for that year. What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to do? And just attack those goals and trace those dreams.
I guess in the climate that we are in this world with lockdowns and the virus and stuff going on, I guess if it stays the same, that it's a benefit for you.
Yeah, for sure, because that happened. It was impossible to get fights. Even before that, just in the amateur career, just the opponents would always back out. They wouldn't show up. It would be a big hassle, especially when COVID happened. And then we got very lucky with those XFC trials, because that was a blessing that happened.
Are you currently just full-time fighting, or are you going to school? What's going on?
Just full-time training and fighting.
All right, so you don't plan on going to getting some extra education or anything like that?
No. We
All
got
right.
the family supports me. Everyone's behind me. I'm all in.
What's the family support been like? Especially with fighting. When you're competing in, let's say, in wrestling or any other sports, it's a little bit different than fighting.
It is, yeah. They support me from beginning to finish. They're always with me, always behind me. But of course, they get nervous, especially my mom and dad. But they love watching it now. When I first did it, they were very nervous, but now they love it. They're all in.
Are they there at the shows?
They can't watch.
Okay. I remember when I was a kid, my parents didn't even want to watch me play football. They're just too nervous.
Mm-hmm. That's what happened. They're just too nervous. They can't watch.
All right. Do you expect them to eventually be able to come to the shows and watch you fight?
I think a couple more, they'll probably start coming, because every time it's a little more they're watching, a little more. So I feel like they'll start coming soon.
Do they watch on TV live, or do you go and watch it afterwards with them?
No. So last time, the fight was live on TV, they couldn't even look at the screen until it was all done.
Okay. All right.
After that.
So what was the celebration like, getting your first professional win?
It was big, and that was for sure the biggest win I had in my career, and just celebrated, came back a couple weeks with the family, and then got back into it.
Right now, with your training, what is the breakup of your schedule weekly?
So training 6, even 7 days a week sometimes, 2 times a day. So morning session, lifting or doing some cardio, some pad work, some jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and then coming back late, going home, eating, hanging out with the family a little bit, and then coming back, training, same thing, striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all of it.
You have this kind of mystique around you already, you know what I mean? And when you look at some of the other fighters that were young entering this sport, and getting a lot of attention. I don't know if I don't want to say they failed, but they didn't become who people thought they would become. Do you look at them and kind of take some learning lessons from them?
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't let I try not letting all this get to my head. It's cool to see, cool to happen, but I try not letting it get in my head and just focus on the training, focusing on the fight, just like when I was an amateur.
Who are the mentors you have around you?
My coaches, my striking coach, my jiu-jitsu coaches, Brandon and Angelo, and I have plenty of great training partners that are always staying positive and just helping me work in my game.
All right, now you got this fight coming up on March 27th at XFC Young Guns 1 against Mason. Tell me about Mason. What do you know about him?
Yeah, we watched some films. Seems like another tough guy, but that's what we want. We want those tough guys. We want that competition, and that's when. You see, we're just gonna test ourselves and fight, do our game plan we have, and just finish him.
When you approach an opponent, what is the protocol you take to prepare for them?
We watch some films, but films doesn't always do justice. So you only really know how the guy is when you step in that cage with him, and then you kind of read him for the first 30 seconds, minute, and then you know what he's about. You know how to adjust your game plan right then and there.
Are you the type of guy that follows the division? You got the division, the Bantamweight division in XFC. They got some great fighters there. Or are you just focusing on yourself right now? You're not worried about other guys?
Yeah, I just try to focus on myself, take it one fight at a time. I don't try to think about the two ahead, just what's on now. And right now I'm just focusing on March 27th.
All right. So with this fight, what do you expect to happen? What kind of outcome?
I expect to finish him. We've been working a lot of different stuff, have a good game plan going in, and I think I could finish him.
What's more satisfying when you finish somebody? Is it punching them, knocking them out, or is it submitting them?
Knocking them out of course, is everyone's favorite. The fan favorite. It's my favorite too. But grinding them out and just seeing them melt also is another good feeling.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's more impressive to see somebody melt somebody in the cage for like 3 rounds, right?
Yep. Just every round, kind of just giving them more and more until you see them just lower and lower.
Who are some of the guys that you like to watch fight right now currently?
You talking about any just MMA or promotions? Right now, actually the bantamweight division, the UFC, you got all those guys. Henry Cejudo, TJ Dillashaw when he comes back, and then I like watching the heavy hitters too, like Francis Ngannou and all those guys. Those are fun to watch. I usually like watching the lighter weights.
Yeah, what did you think about what happened last weekend at UFC 259 with the illegal knee?
Yeah, I didn't. Honestly, I think that knee should be that whole rule should just be legal. I feel like you should be able to throw knees. Peter Yannis kind of style I really like. He has that really nice Muay Thai and that good defensive wrestling, and I think he should have I think that should be legal.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree that should be legal. It's kind of a gray area, right? When you have like one knee down and then you're sitting there in like a crouching position, like what's the big difference?
Yeah, I don't know.
If you're in that position, that let's say you're in that position of Sterling where that happened and then you have the belt and you're the champion. It's a weird position to be in, right?
Yeah, it really is. I don't know. It's hard to say if he was like being real about it or not, but can't just say it. I don't really know.
All right. So what's the outlook for you on this year? You're going to fight on March 27th. And then after that, do you have a timeline on when you want to return and how many fights you want to have this year?
I like to try to have about a fight every 2.5 months. I like to try to stay busy. Just fight after fight, like hopefully May-ish, June-ish, next fight. Try to get about 5 fights this year if I could.
What have been the biggest struggles for you as a professional fighter?
What do you mean exactly?
Like anything, like things that you're used to doing when you were not a professional fighter that you have switched up and it's kind of been a difficult task.
Honestly, a lot of stuff have just been the same, really. Like switching from amateur to pro our training was always hard from the beginning. So it wasn't like just because I went pro, I just started to go hard again. We've been going hard since amateur days, so it's almost the same, to be honest. We're just ramping it up and train.
All right, man. Austin, thank you, man, so much for the time. March 27th, you're back in the cage. I'm excited for it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.